morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. Just 3 days left in 2021 as we get yourself ready for 5 bowl games to be kicked off. The first one at noon, so I hope everyone has awoken from that snooze fest in the Monday night last night. Dolphins and Saints, where just wow. I don't want to say where the mighty have fallen because the Saints are just not the Saints of the past with Breeze, Michael Thomas, that explosive offense that they used to run with Kamara, Ingram, and some other backs there. Have had a good defense for a while. They called in Ian Book because Drew Brees, they reached out to Drew, and Drew showed him a picture from the golf course and says, "Nah, I'm all set, thanks." And but hats off to the Dolphins, have now won 7 in a row, and 2 weeks from now will host the Patriots, where potentially win and in and lose and go golfing. But without further ado, the man from the palm tree state himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Hey, my brother, what is happening?
Morning, Jeff, and welcome to close to 2022, right? I mean, we're getting there. And boy, both games yesterday. The college game wasn't any good, and neither was the NFL game. And I guess I talked about not having good quarterbacks, and that the lines weren't supposed to change as much as they did. But holy shit, those quarterbacks were terrible.
Well, it was funny because before I brought you on yesterday, I did a quick 45 seconds on everyone that I had talked to the night before and early in the morning. We're jumping on Western Michigan because it was basically a home game. The fact that Nevada was missing so many key pieces and was kind of just mailing that one in, and it showed early. But these bowl games, whether they're being postponed, whether like Rutgers gets an opportunity to face a Wake Forest now, and other games that are getting canceled and they're trying to shuffle to last night's NFL game. And listen, I know the NFL has wanted to get to an 18-game schedule where each team maybe gets 2 weeks off. Maybe the Super Bowl isn't played till the last weekend in February. Now you add COVID, and just my take, the product sucks right now. I with the COVID, with the injuries, the nagging injuries, the sideline reporters got more work covering who's in, who's not in. Can they make protocol? Is it enough time to actually enjoy these games, Scott?
Yeah, the on-field product maybe not so isn't the greatest right now, and the only thing that I'll say about the NFL is it's a parity league, and it's hard to stay on top in the NFL, and you get these teams that are all vying for opportunities. And to be honest, in the AFC, there's I don't know, I don't remember how many teams it is, but it's like 7 teams, 8 teams are all vying for these playoff spots. But so that kind of makes it kind of fun. But at the same time, it's one of these situations where some of these games are hard to watch. And I didn't watch that game last night. I started watching some of it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a defensive battle. And then that pick 6 touchdown, and then I'm like, holy shit, that nobody's going to score after that. But I was really surprised at one thing, and I was surprised at how the Miami defense last night seemed to be more aggressive, more on top of things than the Saints defense. And, I thought it would be a little bit more the other way. I mean, the Saints are a good defense. And, it looked like that Kamara kid, he didn't even want to be out there last night. That's what it looked like to me. He didn't run hard. He stupid, costly penalties and stupid stuff that he was doing. And the offensive line, by no stretch in the imagination did they help that Ian Book kid at all. So, it was one of those games where, I guess they just felt like, this was too much for them to handle. But I mean, Miami's not that much. I mean, sure, they got a good defense, but they don't got much on offense. And, it should have been one where game plan wise and situational stuff, they should have held in there better, but they didn't. And, it is what it is. And now we're on to, looks like a flip and a favorite here in the first game.
Yes, and you talked about Kamara, and boy, did he burn some prop bets. Again, a game where people were they buying the flip? Were they not buying the flip? I mean, on paper, I think the Saints had 17, 18 guys out, and it was David versus Goliath. But just how Vegas plays it, the whole world's on Miami. Therefore, the Saints, there's no chance, right? You got to take the Saints in the contrarian eye. Now, and of course, the favorites, the D-gens, whatever you want to say, they get blessed with a box to wire, right? In the first 5 minutes, pick six, thanks for playing. And you talked about Kamara, man, not even close on his receiving, on his rushing. The other prop that I talked about, I mean, he just destroyed all the props, was Waddle. And then obviously that's to his binky right there, and he crushed it in receiving, in receptions, yada yada yada. I talked to someone about anytime score, and he just blew it up. But will be interesting moving forward. And you talked about it, so let's bring it up. I mean, because we got 33 minutes before kickoff, and I got to bring it up. So I was just talking to Jules on Twitter about this as well. I mean, Houston's record in bowl games is putrid, and you wake up overnight, and let's just say this: rotation number 237, 238, 12 p.m. kickoff. The Birmingham Bowl, Positive Stadium in Alabama, Birmingham, a game where Auburn opened up 2.5, and they were 1.5 as of last night. 66% of the bets, 75% of the money. All in Houston. You wake up this morning and presto magic, Houston now 1.5-point favorites. And our friends at Circa. Good morning, Jeffrey. Good morning, Matt. Good morning to the gang there. Westgate, South Point have it at 1. Under over that opened at 49, that is now 49 in the hook. Scott, you buying the flip?
Yeah, I am. I played this game, and I played Houston +2 when I had the hot chance to play it. I played it early yesterday. One of the things that you look at Houston, Houston went out and they lost its very first game against Virginia Tech. And then they lost their very last game, and that was against Cincinnati in that sort of title game that they had there. They're 11-2. They beat SMU. Auburn has lost 4 in a row. They got quality wins, though. I mean, they beat Mississippi, they beat Arkansas, they beat Louisiana State or LSU, whatever you want to call them. They've got a pretty good sized strength of schedule advantage playing in the SEC than what Houston does. But Bo Nix is not going to play. TJ Finley is going to be their quarterback. He doesn't have enough starts to rank on the EPA list and that kind of thing. But the quarterback for Houston, his EPA is 11th in the country. He's a good quarterback. And he is 39th in QBR, which is the stat that ESPN likes to use. I think this is, my model says it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. I think that Auburn is I've got it up here. That Auburn is they're going to be without their running back Shivers. They're going to be without a wide receiver. They also have a couple of guys that opted out for the draft, a cornerback and the center. These are some pretty big things. They're going to be under a new offensive coordinator in this game. So there's a lot of different things going on with Auburn here that really Houston doesn't have to deal with. Houston's going to be minus a cornerback / kick returner that's pretty good. He's going to opt out for the draft, but their team's pretty much intact. Auburn's kind of in shambles right now. So I kind of like the idea here that Houston's the better team going into this game. I like the idea of, a month ago when I wrote the book that they were the better team. And now with some of the stuff that's happening, I can see that when Auburn has the ball, they rank 82nd in offense on EPA, and they're going to face the number 6th ranked defense. So that tells me that Auburn's going to struggle. And when Houston has the ball, they're the 46th ranked offense, and they're going to face the 36th ranked defense. So that's a pretty good matchup. So that doesn't mean they're going to walk all over them. It just means that there's going to be less stops on that side of the ball, theoretically, than on the Houston side. So I like the idea that Houston should be the favorite. I like the idea that you're going to have a better quarterback playing that knows the system. And I think that they're going to be one of these teams that, Auburn gave everything they had, I think, in that Alabama game, and they lost. But I mean, they had them. So now I look at it and I think to myself, okay, that was their coup de grace of their season. Sure, they get to play in this bowl game, but I don't think they really care.
Yeah, it's a tough call right now. I mean, with the actual ticket count and the actual money coming in, the line is now moved correctly when it hadn't moved. And these overnight flips are always very tricky, especially, leading up to kickoff. When you wake up, I've been following this number now for a couple of weeks, and then you just wake up the morning of and you see the big flip. Now, you see a lot of this in the NFL as well. And then you got to check the injury reports. You got to check out who's out because of COVID now, yada, yada, yada. But it's almost like these guys have been holding back, unless, as Dave Sharapan says, maybe a couple bags came flying into Mr. Benson and Mr. Stevens's offices overnight. And now they're trying to, hunt for some Auburn and SEC money. So that'll be interesting there. The next game, 3:15 kickoff, rotation number 239, 240. Louisville and Air Force in the First Responder Bowl at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. A game where Air Force opened up at 1. 76% of the tickets, 73% of the money on Air Force. Yet at Westgate, Louisville is now -1, and also at WinBet -1. A pick'em at Circa, a pick'em at South Point, and a pick'em at Caesars. Your under/over opened at 55.5, 80% on the over, 93% of the money on the over. Yet it's down to 54 at Circa, a 55 at South Point, and a 54 and a hook at Caesars. Thoughts on that game, Scott?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup because you don't really see Air Force and Louisville matching up very often, and I don't know if they've in Louisville not playing these armed forces teams and military schools. I kind of like the idea here that Air Force is going to play a great game. I don't think that they have anything that would detract their season. This would be just a culmination of a season for them. And Louisville on the other side, they get the announcement that Malik Cunningham is going to come back. So I think that gives them a little motivation here in this game, and the head coach is going to stay. And this team is going to go as well as Malik Cunningham goes. And to be honest, I don't think Air Force can stop them either. I kind of like this game to go over the number. What is the number now? When I had it, it was like 52 or something, or 55.5. Is it still 55.5?
It's bouncing around. It opened at 55 and a hook. You can get it at 54 at Circa, 55 at South Point, and 54.5 at Caesars. So take your pick.
Well, the offense for Air Force ranks 27th, and of course they're a running football team. They rank 18th, and Louisville is 97th against the run. So that doesn't mean that sounds to me like clear sailing for Air Force. They're going to be able to run the football. And on the other side, Louisville has the 26th ranked offense, and they can throw the ball. They rank 27th. And when you look at what Air Force does, they rank 51st against the pass. And I'm not sure Air Force has faced, these kinds of talented kids in the specialty area, the wide receivers and the quarterback and being able to run the football and stuff. So I like this game to go over the number. I'm not going to pick a winner here just because I think that it could come down to the last seconds of this game. And what I thought was kind of interesting is special teams. You would think that was really a matchup where Louisville probably has the better special teams, but they're about the same. One ranked 70 Louisville and the other ranked 68 in Air Force. So, I just thought this game was kind of interesting as a neat little matchup. They both offensive sides of the ball seem to be the paths for success here. So that's how I would play this game. I did not play this game, but that if I were, I would play the over.
6:45, rotation number 241, 242, Texas Tech versus Mississippi State in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee. A game where Mississippi State opened up -9.5. It is now 10.5 right now at South Point. 69% of the bets, 70% of the money all coming in on Mississippi State. The under-over opened at 59.5. Again, bouncing around where at Circa you can get it at 57.5 and 58.5 at Westgate and South Point and Caesars. 77% of the bets, 51% of the money all coming in on the over as well there. So there's actually a little reverse line movement on towards the under here. Scott, I got to be honest with you, with today's games, this is the one game that has just stuck out to me where Vegas is sending me huge signals here. I'm kind of curious what your numbers say. I mean, I know Texas Tech had moments this year, kind of faltered down the stretch, but such a big number on Mississippi State, in my eyes, begging you for Texas Tech money. And then this just shook. Seems like Mississippi State in a blowout. What am I missing here?
Nope, this is the best bet of the day. I mean, this is Mississippi State all over the place. So what's interesting here is Mississippi State scored less than 30 points twice all season, and that was against NC State, who has a very good defense, and against Texas A&M, who has a very good defense. So they're playing Texas Tech today. Texas Tech ranks 109th out of 130 schools on defense, and against the pass, they rank 121. And you're talking about a Mike Leach coach team here with Mississippi State, who didn't he coach at Texas Tech before he went on to somewhere else? I mean, wasn't he there at some point in time?
Well, I know he was at Washington State.
Yeah, I thought he was before he got to Washington State. I thought he was at Texas Tech.
I'm not sure on that one.
But
he's a character, though.
But yeah, he's a character. There's no question. But Will Rogers, the quarterback for Mississippi State, ranks 6th in EPA and 23rd in QBR, and Texas Tech is on their third quarterback. They tried their first guy, he didn't work out. They tried their second guy, he didn't work out. So none of their guys qualified to actually be charted in here. They don't have enough attempts. And Mississippi State plays good defense. They don't play great defense. They just play good defense. And Texas Tech might get some of their points, but I see this game as being Mississippi State can if they want Texas Tech to sit here and stay in the game, maybe they give up 20, 24 points. But they're going to score over 30, and they're going to score probably close to more like 40 points in this game. And I think Mississippi State is all over them. This kid, by the way, Will Rogers, he's got 35 touchdowns with 8 interceptions and 4,500 yards. And he's got all the time in the world to throw the football in this game too. The O line for Mississippi State ranks fourth against the pass rush, and the pass rush for Texas Tech is 103rd. So, every single thing you would look at in this game would line up to where the idea would be is Texas Tech's going to struggle here. The Texas Tech quarterback, he's 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 900 yards, but that averages out to 186 yards a game that he's been playing in, and that's not going to cut it against this SEC team. So I like the idea here that Mississippi State wins, and Mississippi State wins in a big one.
8 o'clock, rotation number 243, 244. NC State versus UCLA at Petco Park, the Holiday Bowl. Interesting in this game here. NC State opened at 3, now down to 2.5, 2. As of yesterday, this was down to 1, 1.5. So some overnight money came in on NC State. 50% of the bets, 55% of the money is on NC State. There is some reverse line movement on UCLA. 59.5, and a half at Circa. Westgate has it at 60, South Point at 61, and Caesar 60.5. 81% of the money, 93%. I'm sorry, 81% of the tickets, 93% of the money, all on that over. Not officially a home game for UCLA, but kind of sort of a home game for UCLA in San Diego. An NC State team that's been very, very good this year. A UCLA team that started out guns a-blazing, kind of faded down the stretch. I have a lot of respect for this NC State team. I like both sides of the ball here, but I smell fish here. I don't know. Something stinks here. Tell me what I'm smelling.
Well, in this game, in this matchup, it's a tough one. And at the beginning of the season, I was really high on NC State, and I don't think their quarterback played to the degree or the level of which he was kind of touted to play at. So I kind of liked NC State to be a team that was going to be a power and run for the ACC championship. And they just, when you're talking about Wake Forest winning the ACC, and that's one of these things where I sit here and think to myself, boy, that door was wide open for a team like NC State. NC State has wins against UNC. Which, North Carolina wasn't the greatest team in the world this year. And they beat Clemson, which, again, wasn't the best team in the world this year, even though they got a good defense. UCLA, they beat LSU. Okay, well, LSU, you've seen what LSU is this year. And they beat some of the teams in conference. But I don't think they have, like this win out there that tells me that, holy shit, this team's really good. They who did they beaten? So, you're looking at a UCLA team that is really good on offense, but you're also looking at an NC State team that's really good on defense. The question then becomes is can the offense for NC State take advantage of UCLA's defense? And I think this game's going to come right down to the end. My book wrote 33-28, so that's pretty close. And it got an NC State win here, but I don't know that that's necessarily how that's going to go. I've seen some things out there that make me believe UCLA is going to win this game, but it's just hard for me to go against the better defense. In these situations. Chip Kelly, I don't even know if he's coaching this game. Is he still the coach for UCLA, or is he gone now? Holy shit, everybody keeps talking about him going to Oregon.
No, he's there. I guess, he kind of threw his hat in the ring that, he'd listen to them, and then they grabbed, I think it was, and don't quote me on this, I think they got the defensive coordinator from Georgia. They went defense instead of Chip Kelly.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a weird spot for him. This quarterback, what do they call him? DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, whatever the hell is, whatever. He's not good enough to have initials. But at the same time, he's not a bad quarterback. I mean, if he's on, they play well. If he's off, they don't play worth a crap. And that's going to be one of these scenarios where, this game sets up perfect for an in-game wager. You can see what UCLA does with the ball when they have it in the first time, and whether this Dorian Thompson-Robinson kid is going to be ready to play or not. And I would make my decision based off of whether he's ready to go, because if he's not ready to go, NC State's going to beat this team. And if he's ready to go, then he's the guy that's going to hold them in the game and keep them there and make the plays that are necessary. And that's kind of how I would play this. I like NC State, but I think that if Dorian Robinson Thompson, or whatever the hell his name is one of those guys that is doing a good job and he's really playing and he's on, then it's going to be tough to stop him. And it's going to be hard for NC State to keep up. So it kind of flips the role there, if you so to speak. So in my mind, I would wait and let this game kick off and see what happens the first couple drives.
And the last game, 10:15 kickoff, rotation number 245, 246, West Virginia and Minnesota at Chase Field in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Minnesota opened up at a flat 7, is down to 5.5, 69% of the bets, 72% of the money on Minnesota. So there is some reverse line movement there. The under over, 57% of the bets, 67% of the money, all on the over. Opened at 44 and a hook, now 45 straight across the Vegas Strip. Can get a 44 and a hook at DraftKings. I was talking to some colleagues earlier yesterday, and I usually on Saturdays I'm in the office, so we have DirecTV, and I put on the mix, and I got 8 games going on. And I remember watching this West Virginia team at Oklahoma, and they were like 18-point underdogs. Had a good opportunity to win that game, and their defense was playing lights out, and they just caught my eye. And this Minnesota team has been my Jekyll and Hyde since Lawrence Maroney a million years ago, who played for the Pats. You play them, and they're nowhere to be found. Go against them, and they can't be stopped. It just, strictly numbers. There is some little reverse line movement on West Virginia, but please talk me off of them. And I have no feel, no love, no interest at all in this game.
All right, so I really like this game.
Okay,
and I like to bet on Minnesota when they're an underdog. I don't like to bet on when they're a favorite, but at the same time, I hate West Virginia's team. And hate's a strong word, but it's true. This quarterback, Jarrett Doge, or whatever his name is, he ranks 81st in EPA and 64th in QBR. Not that the quarterback for Minnesota is that much better. He's 79th in EPA and 49th in QBR. Now QBR, it's kind of like you're putting a couple of other things in there other than what EPA's by play, and QBR talks about things like completion percentage and stuff like that. So, so he's the better quarterback in Minnesota. But what I like about this game is that there's a couple of things. West Virginia had 4 wins going into the last 2 games of the season. So they're not even bowl eligible. And they won their last 2 games to give them 6. They got 6 wins. And so I kind of feel like, West Virginia's at one of those spots where they're like, oh, this is a coronation. This is kind of a celebratory thing over our last 2 wins, right? I mean, they're in. This is not a business trip for them, or at least in my mind, it's not a business trip for them. Their quality wins were against Texas, and we know how good Texas was. They weren't that good. And they did beat Iowa State. Now, Iowa State's similar to Minnesota. But they did beat them. Minnesota won its last 2 games, and they beat Wisconsin, if you remember. And that was a game that Wisconsin had to win so that they would play Michigan in the Big Ten championship. But they didn't do that, and Wisconsin was on a roll then. That's when Wisconsin was playing their best football and steamrolling teams, and then they can't get past Minnesota. They also beat Nebraska and they beat Purdue. Both of those two teams are pretty decent football teams, and they're both better. All three of those teams are better than West Virginia. So this game comes down to a couple of things. The defense for Minnesota can be stifling. I mean, it can be very, very good at times. They rank 22nd, and they're going to face the 79th ranked offense in West Virginia. And West Virginia throws the ball at 66, runs the ball at 68. So that's not the greatest offense in the world. Not that Minnesota's is that much better, but they can at least throw the football. They rank 59th, and passing is 39th. And they're going to face, that's the weakness for West Virginia. They rank 79th in pass. So I like the idea that the defense for Minnesota is going to make it really hard on West Virginia. And coaching matters. And in Minnesota, the coach is doing a pretty good job there. And a lot of times you can see that in special teams rank. And Minnesota special teams rank 54th. In West Virginia, we talk about this all the time. There's 130 schools. They rank 126. So they're going to have to fight a on-field field position battle. They're going to be, if Minnesota has to punt or something, they're going to pin them down. They're going to have to go the long way all the time. So I like the idea that Minnesota has a lot of those inherent advantages as well. Now, they did play a common opponent this year. Minnesota played Maryland, and West Virginia plays Maryland, I think, every year because it's sort of that rivalry game. When they played, Minnesota destroyed Maryland. They won by 18 points. They outgained them by 183 yards. Now, it's sort of a little different only because it's a rivalry game. But when West Virginia played them, they lost by 6 and got outgained by 171. That just tells me the two differences between these two teams. And I mean, you just use a common opponent here, and I get it that maybe the time of the year, the rivalry game, or the this or the that, but you would just assume that Maryland would be a team that West Virginia would be up to play, and they got smoked. So I kind of like the idea here that Minnesota is the more dominant team. They're the better team. They're going to play really good defense. And West Virginia is going to struggle. I mean, West Virginia on offense, when you look at like first down rate and in your value of drives, they rank 83rd, and they're going to face the number 10 defense when it comes to that. So offensive drive rate just really, really, really exploits the difference between the two teams, especially on where the defense is for Minnesota. And if you flip it and you look at the drive rate, the value, for example, Minnesota ranks 38th and West Virginia ranks 80th. So even though they might have a 63rd ranked defense, when it comes to offensive drives, they don't stop many people. So I like the idea that Minnesota can move the football here. I think Minnesota is the way to go. I think what you said, the line's moving the other way. I'm all for that. I mean, I go against that in my mind. You go against that. I played Minnesota. I got Minnesota minus the 5, and I'm happy.
All right. It's what do we got the time here? All right, you got 6 minutes before kickoff. Let's wrap this up here. Give all the listeners. Hey, by the way, all the listeners, I want to thank everyone here. As myself and Scott are trying to, build and build, educate. I want to thank you guys. And the best way I can say that is, hey, can you do us a favor as we're trying to build and build? Is reach out to our YouTube station at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe, check the like. Write a quick review if you got 10 seconds. Go over to Twitch as well. We have some big stuff brewing in 2022, some live streaming, some halftime ins and outs, what to look for, maybe some hedges, maybe some double downs. And that's our goal in 2022, to get a lot more live streaming, to get everyone here maybe more involved here. Hey, ask a question. Hey, I got this -7. They're down 5. What do I do at halftime? And that's what our goal is here. So reach out, subscribe to East Coast Sports Investors on our YouTube, on our Twitch. If you have any questions, send us an email at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. If you go to our website at www.eastcoastsportsinvestors.com, and right there, and you wait 4 seconds, there'll be a pop-up. Give us your email address, click, and you get the guide that Scotty's been talking about that's on fire right now for the rest of the bowl games. Scotty also just finished up a betting guide, not a betting guide, a sports wagering. How would you describe the title, Scott?
Well, I would say it's sort of a tutorial. I mean, it's the basics, right? This is what the bets are, and then this is what you do with your bets. This is how you handle certain things. This is what you kind of want to do. It's a precursor to put your mind right, get everything set so that when you're actually out there making these wagers, this is what you want to look for, and this is why you want to look for it, and try to separate yourself from what we talked about yesterday with the millennials and the kids and the game that they're playing. They're playing something different. They're not actually wagering on the games. They're doing some crazy other stuff. So the truth of the matter is we want to incorporate people into this culture and into the right frame of mind as you're trying to develop your skill sets, and we're going to try to enhance that. We're going to try to make those as positive for you as you can. We're going to try to make it as enjoyable for you as you can. I mean, obviously, remember, you got to have fun doing this, or don't do it. But at the same time that you're having fun, you don't want to throw money away, and that's what we're going to try to teach you to do.
And shout out to Billy Hewlin, our buddy from Louisiana, #Roll Tide, as you got a big game coming up in a couple days. Cincinnati, I heard we'll be ready for you, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Scotty, wrap it up. Tell them what you played.
Today's games, I played the Houston Cougars today. I played them at +2. They're minus, 1 or 2 now. And I'm okay up to that 3 number for Houston in this game. I had them winning by 4. The other game that I played was Mississippi State. I got them at -10. And I also played Minnesota at -4. If you were going to play these other games, that Air Force Louisville game, I think you should probably play that game over. And I think that NC State game is one where you want to look at it and kind of decide on what you want to do with it as it starts on an in-game basis, and see how this Dorian Robinson-Thompson kid's playing. And if he's lights out, maybe you want to play it over instead of pick a side.
And tomorrow, I can tell you, myself and Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk, as we cross the border over to Canada, we're going to be talking some junior hockey. I've actually, it's been good the last couple of days that I've actually had something else because of the ugliness of some of the NFL games and the cancellation of the college to dive into the World Juniors and some hockey. So myself and Andrew are going to be talking pucks and props and all that good stuff. And we're going to go over some quick bowl games as we get closer to New Year's Eve and the Final Four and all that good stuff. Myself and Scott will be back most likely Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But if he's feeling froggy any one of those other days and wants to jump on, he's here. So for myself, Jeff Dawson, my co-host, Mr. Scott Webb, we can't thank you guys enough. This is the final week of 2021. We are guaranteeing 2022 to be epic, and we can't wait. We're excited. We have a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of national news that will be coming to the forefront sooner than later, and we can't do it without you guys. So thank you. Anyone wagering today, always remember this: wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. We want you here in 2021, 2022, and beyond. So best of luck today. Wager responsibly. Have a blessed day, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.